Good morning, everybody. Pastor Stitch, Narrow Path Christian Church, BC, Bay City, Michigan. Also the North Central Chaplain for Broken Chains, JC. Welcome to the Biker Devotional. Today is August 24th, 2025, and we are looking at Proverbs chapter 24. Proverbs chapter 24, verse 8 and 9 say this: "The one who plots evil will be called a schemer. A foolish scheme is sin, and a mocker is detestable to people." You know, I talk about so many different verses and have about so many different verses in the last 4.5 years that I have been doing this live every day, spending time in the chapter of Proverbs that corresponds with the date. You all know that if you've been watching me. And I've never actually addressed these two verses before. The one who plots evil will be called a schemer. Pretty common sense. If you plan to do something wrong, people will address that as, yeah, you meant to do that. Don't tell me it was an accident. We know you meant to do it. I mean, it's like when my grandson was here and he did something and then said, "Oh, I'm sorry," but he purposely did what he did and then thought he was going to get out of it when he got called out on it by saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I had to remind him, no, you had the plan. You executed the plan. Of course, I didn't use these words with him. He's only 6 years old, but this is what he did. He had a plan. He executed the plan. He thought the plan was funny, and then when it backfired on him, he just pretended like, oh, it was an accident. Well, it wasn't an accident. You could see that he had the plan. You could see that he was executing the plan precisely, and you could see where it didn't land the way he expected it to. The next verse, verse 9, says, "A foolish scheme is sin, and a mocker is detestable to people." And that really goes to what I'm talking about here. See, a foolish scheme is a purposeful decision to do the wrong thing. And when you make a decision to do the thing that you know shouldn't be done, it's sin. It just is. And when the person gets caught in it and says, "Oh, it was an accident. I didn't mean it. I didn't do it on purpose." Everybody says, no, we saw the intent. That's why in verse 7, just before this, Solomon says, "Wisdom is inaccessible to a fool. He does not open his mouth at the gate." See, there's more to the gate than just doing business. Men who were highly regarded and had an idea of something that they thought was going to be good and beneficial, and they wanted to act on it. If it was something that would be above board, they would go and they would seek advice from the elders at the gate. They would go and they would say, "This is what I'm thinking. Have any of you ever done anything like it before? What do you see could go wrong?" And they get advice. But a fool doesn't go and get advice. They plan it all out in their head. They know that this probably isn't good, but it's going to be funny. You know, something that those that are around me on a regular basis know. I have a concealed carry permit. I carry a gun. I carry a gun with a purpose to protect those around me. Not to get into an argument, not to get into a fight, but to protect those that are around me. Because the world is a dangerous place, and I take my position as a husband, as a father, as a grandfather, and as a pastor very seriously. I've been called in all of those roles to be a protector. And if necessary, I will defend with my life. Or I hope. I've never been put in that position, don't ever want to be. But I carry a gun. I had a young man who I was mentoring at one point. He was a young man. And at his house, all the kids thought it was funny to come up and scare all the old people. They would look for opportunities to jump out around the corner to startle them. And they laughed and had a great old time. And all the adults hated it. And one day I was having a conversation with him after I saw him do it with one of his adult people in his life. And I said, you know, that's a really dangerous thing to do. And you should never do that, because if you startle them in the wrong way, there can be consequences that are negative. If you do it to the wrong person, you could get hit. You could cause a heart attack. Some people carry guns, and under the wrong circumstances, they could actually shoot you. It's just not smart. About a week later, I come around a corner, and he jumps out and swings like he's going to hit me. He had to pick himself up off the floor. I didn't punch him or anything like that, but I did go into a defensive stance and body checked him. And as I was recognizing who it was, my hand went to my gun. And he was terrified. I'm grateful for the Holy Spirit checking me in that moment. I reached down and I gave him a hand up, and I apologized for hurting him. And I explained to him that this is exactly what I had tried to explain to him before, and that it wasn't smart, and that the game he was playing was dangerous. The one who plots evil will be called a schemer. A foolish scheme is sin, and a mocker is detestable to people. He thought I was silly. He did learn the lesson, and I'm grateful for that. I'm sad that it went the direction it did. And I did own my part. And I learned a tremendous lesson from it as well, to be more aware of my environment. I don't walk corners so tight anymore. I come around corners a little wider, so I have a better view and a better way to be prepared. Because I don't ever want to make a mistake. But that's training, right? That's what we've got to do. Mentally, physically prepare. Part of that training is going and getting good direction, but not being a fool and making plans. You know, I've been on both sides of that equation. I've been the one that was checked and put on the ground, and I actually had a gun pulled on me. Yeah, not a good thing. Learned that lesson very quickly. Thankfully, my God protected me in both situations. So let me ask you today, as you go into your day, are you going to think about the things that are coming and ask for good direction from trusted individuals? Or are you going to think this is going to be fun, go act it out, and then when it gets to the point of failure, say, well, I was just kidding? Which, by the way, Solomon addresses in another portion of the Psalms as well. Something to think about today. I love y'all. Hope you have a great day. God bless.